continue with the 5th chapter from your History and Civics book of grade 7, and the name of the chapter is Expansion of the Delhi Sultanate, the Khilji and the Tughlaq dynasties. So in the last video we came across that the last Khilji ruler was killed in 1320. So that is the end of Khilji dynasty, and from there the Tughlaq dynasty starts, or you can say the commencement of Tughlaq dynasty started after the death of the Khiljis. So in 1320 CE, the last Khilji ruler was killed by Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. Okay, he then founded a new dynasty that ruled India for the greater part of 14th century. So what kind of a person was Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq? Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq was the son of a Turkish father and an Indian mother. He was an efficient administrator and a capable military commander. So he was a very capable person, and he actually suppressed all the revolts which was taking place in his province, and he introduced lots of welfare programs, lots of reforms was introduced. Okay, Ghiyasuddin died in what appeared to be a deliberate planned accident. So it was a planned one. So everybody had a plan and projected that Ghiyasuddin have actually met with an accident, but actually it was a murder. He was succeeded by his son. That means Ghiyasuddin's son became the next ruler after him. Jauna Khan, who ascended the throne under the title Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Okay, so Jauna Khan titled himself as Muhammad bin Tughlaq. What kind of person was he? So Muhammad bin Tughlaq was one of the most learned, means educated and accomplished scholars of his time. His intellectual courtesy and the thirst of knowledge were boundless. So he was in the very urge of gaining knowledge. He wanted to learn more and more. Okay, and he had an extraordinary memory, and he was very intelligent, and he had mastered logic, maths, astronomy, physical science, philosophy. All this he had mastered in, and he was a lover of Persian literature, poetry, calligraphy, fine arts, music. He was very expert, and he loved to stay with the educated people. Okay, historians are divided on the nature of his character. Now historians are a bit confused, okay, that whether he was an extraordinary intelligent person or he was a foolish person. This is how the debate carries on. The contradiction, that means you can say the debate in his character had led some historians to believe that he was mad. Okay, he is also known as the Mad King of India. Who was the Mad King of India? Then you have to name Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He is titled as Mad King, because nobody would ever understand that he is an extraordinary person who is doing some really taking some wise decisions, and few is to feel like no, he is a fool to take such kind of a decision. So nobody actually could understand. Okay, according to his mood he used to act. So taxation in the Doab. So these are the few, you can say, projects which was undertaken by him. It was a billion project. Few billion projects were undertaken by him, but it was the wrong time. He was just moving ahead of time. Okay, that was not the proper time to introduce all this, but he was actually doing that. So taxation in Doab. Muhammad bin Tughlaq realized the importance of a strong and powerful army to strengthen and secure the position of the ruler. To enhance his military resources, he needed additional revenue. Okay, so he also wanted some additional revenue. So in order to get that revenue, the Ganga Yamuna Doab. Doab means the region or the place which is between these two rivers is called the Doab. Okay, was a very fertile region, right? So as we know that the places which is near the rivers are actually very fertile for growing crops. So this Doab was between river Ganga and Yamuna. This part was very fertile. So what he did, the land tax in this area was increased. Unfortunately, the rains failed and a severe famine broke out. People refused to pay the enhanced taxes. So, as he increased the taxes that year itself, there was less rainfall. Now, it was his bad luck that it was less rainfall that year, and the farmers totally rejected that they won't be paying the extra taxes. Okay, to escape the tyranny of the tax collectors, the peasants abandoned their lands and fled to the jungles. So, as because the farmers were really afraid of the tax collectors that they will be torturing them now, as the crops had failed, what they did, they left their places and ran back to the jungles. Muhammad bin Tughlaq ordered relief measures such as free kitchen, loans for the farmers, and improved irrigation facilities. So, Muhammad bin Tughlaq did not actually torture them. Rather, he provided few help. Muhammad bin Tughlaq gave some help to the farmers, like giving them loans, then giving them free kitchen, means providing them food, then improve the agriculture facilities. All these things were done. Okay, then transfer of the capital. Now, he transferred his capital from Delhi to Devagiri. Okay. The next step was taken by Muhammad bin Tughlaq was to transfer the capital from Delhi to Devagiri, renamed as Daulatabad in the Deccan. Two major reasons. Okay, two major reasons why the Sultan took this kind of decision. One was central location. Okay, with the expansion of the Delhi Sultanate into the Deccan, Devagiri happened to be the central located. Okay, so why he shifted from Delhi to Devagiri? Because Devagiri was in the central part. From the way they have expanded their emperor, that was the middle part. So he transferred it to Devagiri. Mongol invasions, repeated Mongol attacks posed a great threat to Delhi. Okay, so as there was a repeated attack in Delhi by the Mongol, so Daulatabad was a safer place because it was much more inside. According to contemporary historian Ibn Battuta, the Sultan ordered to the transfer of the entire population instead of shifting only his court and his offices. So this is another, according to the historians, they say that this is another big blunder done by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He could have easily shifted his court. That means he could have easily shifted all the materials, all the documents he was having there in Delhi to Devagiri. It was not necessary to shift the people also from Delhi to Devagiri. Right, so people could stay there. But he shifted not only his court, not only his offices, not only his officers, along with that he shifted his population also. So what happened in this shifting purpose? A broad road was built with trees on both sides. Temporary huts were set up along the way. Provisions were made for the supply of free food, drinks during the journey. So, all this had a great expense. Although they were running out of money and he was increasing the tax here and there, and he took such kind of decision, it was a huge burden, economical burden on the emperor. Okay, many died on the way also, from going from one place to another, walking like that. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq shifted his capital back to Delhi after 2 years. After all these things happened, again he shifted his capital back to Delhi after 2 years. So this is how we can say that the treasury was drained and people started calling him the Mad King, because he was not fixed with his one decision. He was changing it. Next comes token money. The failure of Sultan's schemes had led to a heavy drain on the royal treasury. Muhammad bin Tughlaq then decided to experiment with token money. I'll say token money is not that very bad idea in this contemporary world, but At that time, it was not at all a appropriate decision to be applied over India. At that time was ahead of the decision. Okay, so experiment with the token money in 1329 to 30 CE, the tide over the financial crisis. Copper coins. Okay, you must remember token currency means they're talking about the copper coins have the same value as gold and silver coins and were issued, and people were ordered to use these token coins in all their transactions. So like we are using now, right? All these coins are not made up of gold and silver, but it is equivalent. We can buy whatever we want from the shop with this kind of coins. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq also introduced copper coin. This was token currency, and they were just exchanging the goods, and it was equivalent to gold and silver at that period of time. However, Muhammad bin Tughlaq took no steps to ensure the minting means making of coins as a monopoly of the government. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq should have taken some kind of steps to ensure that it is done only by the government, only by the emperor only, right? The making of the coin must be done only by the government. He did not take any such kind of steps. Okay, he just made some coins and distributed, and people were ready to use it as the king have ordered. So every house became a mint. That means every house started making the coins now. Every house became a mint and people started making coins. There were no arrangements to check the minting and circulation of these fake coins. Okay, nobody could stop this. Foreign merchants refused to accept this token coin. Now foreigners and the foreign traders were not ready to accept it because gold is having much more value than the copper, and they were not ready to accept it. The economic system began to collapse. Okay, and Muhammad bin Tughlaq had to withdraw the token currency. Now, and this also is a great failure. He had to take it away. Now, expansion schemes. He thought of expanding his emperor, and he was dreaming of a world emperor actually. Okay, he was thinking to build an empire which will rule the entire world. Muhammad bin Tughlaq dreamed to establish a world empire. He decided to conquer Khurasana, Persia, Iran, Iraq. Okay, a huge army was mobilized, equipped, and paid 1 full year's salary in advance. So, as because he was going for war, he just paid 1 year's salary in advance. A year later, the project was abandoned. Means again, this project also got stopped because the Sultan realized that it would not be easy to send such a large army across the snowy Himalayan pass. So it was not possible for the armies to cross the Himalaya, snowy Himalaya like that. So he again stopped this project also. This plan further depleted the royal treasure. Means again the royal treasure, whatever money they were having, again started getting drained. He also sent the expedition to conquer the Himachal region. The army suffered heavy casualties. Heavy casualty means it was too cold, and only 10 soldiers returned to Delhi. That means rest of the soldiers got killed there. Okay, not killed actually, got they died there out of cold. Results of the schemes. What are the results? Muhammad bin Tughlaq's experiments and poor executed schemes had exhausted the treasury and undermined the prestige and position of the Sultan. Okay, revolts broke out in all the parts of the Sultanate. So the Rana of Mewar the Rana of Mewar recovered Ranthambore and Chittor and built a powerful kingdom in Rajasthan. In the south, 2 new kingdoms were established: the Hindu Vijayanagara kingdom and the Muslim and Bahmani kingdom. So all these kingdoms started developing themselves. Though Muhammad bin Tughlaq was in power, but he was losing his power because he was economically becoming very weak. The Deccan and the South India became independent once again. Most historians have traced the failure of Muhammad bin Tughlaq's scheme to his character. He lacked practical sense. Okay, the ulemas did not support his schemes because he did not allow them to influence the affairs of the state. So as Muhammad bin Tughlaq was not allowing the ulemas to get into the state matters, ulemas also started ignoring or did not support Muhammad bin Tughlaq. When Muhammad bin Tughlaq died in 1351, after the reign of more than 25 years, the Sultanate was in a state of decay and disintegration. That means when he died, okay, he ruled almost 25 years, more than 25 years. So by that time, already the Sultanate was in such a position that it was about to get extinct.